So the other day I got a text message from Brandon that read, Katie wants to know if you'll be the best man at my wedding. You'll also wear what you wore in a previous wedding that we had been in. So clearly, behind every great man is a greater woman. So, let's check that point off. All right. So, obviously during the ceremony today, there was a lot of great things said about Brandon becoming this bold individual. And for a lot of you that knew him prior to, today, you knew that he was a very shy individual. The first time that I actually met Katy's parents, I walked into their driveway for a yard sale that they were having with Brandon, and we were there for probably a couple minutes before Linda finally says, "So Brandon, are you going to introduce us to your brother or not?" So, it just goes to show you that, he's really come a long way. So, with that being said, for Brandon to work up the courage to tell our friend group that he was getting set up on a blind date took a lot of guts for him. Let alone, there we were in a buddy's garage, elbow deep in grease, reassembling the rear end of an old Ford 8N tractor, and Brandon comes up and says, I'm getting a girl's business card, which for those that know Brandon would be exactly in the awkward fashion that he would say it. So obviously there was jokes that flew after that are not appropriate for today, nor this group probably, but you can imagine that we were all elated for him. Here's my brother, a close friend to a lot, having this big moment, getting set up with a girl. It's an exciting thing for him, especially him being as shy as he is. So we were all elated. Fast forward a bit and we got to meet Katy. Now our friend group, some of you have met them, some of them will be here later today, not the wildest bunch. Our idea of a fun night was going over to Brandon's house, staying up barely past 10 p.m. and playing board games. And then Katy joined the group, and she's been a ball of energy ever since. So now our friends would get, let's check that bullet point off. So, you think Brandon and I grew up, same exact friend groups, with the exception of, the few kids I graduated high school with, same as him. Scouts, everything like that. My brand friends were his friends before I made it to school. So we grew up inseparable. Anytime he went somewhere, more than likely I was there too. So you'd imagine that we grew up very close together. With that being said, you would think your brother is somebody that's going to confide in you and tell you everything that might be going on in his life. But for Brandon, he's not good at sharing emotions. Unless, for those that know Brandon, it's anxiety or nerves. He'll tell you all about that. So with that being said, Katy's relationship with Brandon wasn't much different. There wasn't a whole lot of deep conversation that we had about this. And I'll get to, when it finally got there later. But to prove a point, it wasn't necessary. Brandon's relationship with Katy, we'd see them and hang out and play board games and everything like that, and it was great. But you could truly tell that Brandon was happy through all the photos that would be posted by Katy or a member of somebody else's family on social media. There's Brandon, smiling ear to ear. Some might say tickled shitless. So about 3/4 of the way, this last May, about 3/4 of the way through a 32-hour road trip, we went out to North Carolina on the Outer Banks to visit some family. We drove all the way out there and made it all the way back to Louisville, and Brandon, in the middle of a downstorm, goes, "I want to propose to Katy. It's gonna happen. I want to make this happen." We talked to him. At that point in time, if you know Brandon, when his mind's made up on something, he's done. His heart was set, his mind was made up, and he knew exactly what he was going to do. Shit. Five months later, we get a text message from Brandon with an engagement ring. And at that point, I knew that he was going to do everything that he could to make everything as perfect as he could for that proposal, his engagement, everything. Of all the things in my life that I've known Brandon to make quick decisions on, the only thing is buying Lego sets. So the fact that he had made his mind up on what he was going to do really knew that he had put thought and time into everything. Sorry, I got to reference this again. I tried so hard for this.
Doing great.
Thank you. Katy, way to go. You've truly knocked down some of his walls. And you've really changed some of his insecurities. Some of which you probably wish didn't get knocked down. Seeing the ceremony today and what was said, you've really turned him into somebody. Watching him talk, hearing him go out with Buck last night, you've really turned him into somebody who's very outgoing, and you've shaped him into such an amazing man that he is today. That being said, congratulations. Really happy for both of you. Cheers. Whoop.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
All right, I'm done. I tried.
Hello. Hello, Gretchen. I'm Gretchen. I'm Katie's older sister. The good thing about this intimate setting is that we all already know that, so I don't have to introduce myself. But I do want to say thank you so much for all of you who are here, especially all the Texas folk. Katy has always had an affinity and a proudness from being from Texas, so I think it's only fitting that all of our friends and family that have come to help and just be such hands and feet are from Texas. So thanks for being here. As it turns out, it's really hard to write a speech for your younger sister's wedding. So I'm taking the age-old approach of just mentioning a couple words that come to mind when I think of you and Brandon. So let's start with Brandon. The first word is brave. Brandon, my favorite story ever about you is that for one of your first dates, you beat Katy to Mom and Dad's house. Dad had the audacity to ask you to hang up some numbers, house numbers, that Mom ordered from Etsy, and you didn't even think twice. You went with the drill and hung numbers up on house. That's super brave. Number two thing that makes you super brave is that you've met all the Tonsies and you still decided to pursue Katy. You are really brave. Second word, thoughtful. Jeremy said here in case you didn't hear.
We heard it too.
Second word is thoughtful. The fact that you thought to initiate such a fast engagement to pull off a beautiful wedding so that Dad could be here to witness and see it, super thoughtful. Thank you for that. Now on to the bride, and she does get one more word because I've known her a little bit longer. Katy, you are resilient. Unfortunately, you had to experience deep loss in high school. When Tom passed away your senior year, I will never forget the bravery when you delivered a eulogy in front of hundreds of people. You are really resilient. Second word, celebrate. Whether it's hosting friends for dinner, giving gifts at Christmas, or making social media posts to highlight birthdays, you are so good at celebrating others. Brandon, take note. Katy also really loves to be celebrated.
Her birthday is coming.
And her birthday is at the end of this month. Third word, fun. Katy, I love your love for fun. The year you decided to make the classic Guess Who board game into a Tonsi version was one of the most fun Thanksgivings I can ever remember. Or the time that we were in Lexington, Kentucky for Dad's brain surgery, we decided to eat the whole Kentucky hot brown pizza and tell Mom that the margarita pizza was the only option. We giggled and we were so grateful that she liked the margarita pizza. Even in the hardest of times, you know how to have fun. Now there are two words that kept coming to mind that represent the both of you. Family and complete. Family, you both value your families to the utmost, and I adore that. And yesterday we learned that our families have a lot more in common than we realized. For example, you both have moms that can't keep secrets. Joking aside, I just admire your love for your families. It's really admirable. Last but not least, the last word I couldn't get out of my mind is complete. I don't know if Brandon's family would agree, yet I have never seen you more complete than you are with Brandon. So if everyone would raise your glasses, my prayer for Katy and Brandon is that you would never forget the supernatural love of Christ that makes marriage possible, that you would be brave in all of your pursuits, thoughtful in your decisions, and I pray that you celebrate the mountains and be resilient in the valleys. Most importantly, I pray that you never stop having fun. Cheers.
Cheers.